So first of all, I'm just gonna make a short introduction. Who are we? So my name is Anja Žibert. I'm from Slovenia. I'm a founder and HR expert. And I'm never gonna shut up about the importance of energy alignment and concepts such as personal growth and heart intelligence in working environments. My co-host is Jeremy Barr. He's from San Diego, United States, and he is one of the most inspiring VC investors that I ever met in my life. He's also a tech expert and founder and a coach. And yeah, together we joined forces because Jeremy is building also a ecosystem of startup ecosystem globally, of course, with which he will positively impact 3 billion people, at least 3 billion people. And we joined forces, we created this community, Business Heartprints, and every Thursday we are having weekly sessions that we are discussing, about different topics. And mostly it's about scaling strategies for startups. We are calling it like heart-based scaling strategies, but it's in general, it's everything that modern founders should know, how to get money, how to lead a team, how to personally and professionally grow, and stuff like that. So basically today, we decided that we're gonna talk about the lines and intersection in business relationships. And I'm really excited to hear some of your experiences. I can also share mine. And then after, I would say like 10 minutes or something like that, it will be completely open for Q&A. So first, me and Jeremy we will provide some information, and then we're gonna talk like, you can open a beer or put a glass of wine, and it's gonna be completely non-formal conversation that we are all are gonna have a lot of fun. Sounds good?
Yes, I love it. Great intro.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't know all of you, but I'm pretty sure that you are in that way or another involved in this startup world. So either you're a founder or you're a leader, or you're just interested in this kind of dynamics. And what I wanted to share with you today is that importance, of the emotional intelligence in these business relationships. Because, for example, my own experience is that when I'm not completely aligned, when my emotional state or like my personal relationships are a mess, then everything affects also on business and everything else. So basically, until I started to learn how to regulate my emotions, my I would say like inner state, I had a lot of challenges also on business side, because I'm a person that I cannot just detach, from emotions. I'm a person that really needs to feel and process everything what is going on. And with relationships and with people who you have around when you are building a business, when you're of course networking, when you are, I don't know, like selling or whatever, it's very, very important, what kind of effect these people have on you. So this is something that I see really important. Jeremy, would you like to add something?
Yeah. So as a high level, right, on today's topic, we're talking about the lines and intersections between personal and professional. There's some people that will separate them. I do not. Me as a VC investor, I've managed teams of people, been CTO, COO, CEO, and now VC investor. And when I look at other investors, whether they're investing in me, I look for that personal friendship relationship, or whether I'm looking at founders, I know that it's going to be a personal relationship, because this is going to be a relationship over 5 years or more. And even when I'm managing people, I'm always going to be asking, like, how's your weekend? I want to know about this person, right? We don't want to, in my lens and in my view, we don't want to be having relationships where it's just work only, and we're treating somebody else as either one, a robot that just services something, right? They're just an engineer for you. They're just an accountant for you. They're just a media buying person for you, right? Or you're also kind of looking at them as just a strand of something, right? Like they just do one service, but you're not looking at their whole human being. Like this whole human being has life goals and personal and everything, right? You're going to be able to, when we can connect more fully with people, right? We're talking about scaling strategies in general, and this is one of the topics, and we use the word heart-based a lot, right? Like me and Anja, kind of formed up in terms of like, let's look at like what does the world look like when you are more heart-centered, right? Even in the VC that I run, it's three terms that I'm always looking at: of heart-centered, growth-oriented, and impact-driven. Those are the three things that I'm looking for in founders, right? So when we connect with people more on this heart-based, when we have more of these aligned things, right? We align more and connect more with people, the more strands that we can connect with them on. And we're not just going to connect with them on the things we can get out of them, the things we can get out of an engineer or a salesperson or a founder, right? We don't want just a relationship where an investor says, well, you, as a founder, like me as an investor, I shouldn't be looking at a founder and just saying, you're just here to de-risk return for me. So if I give you $1 million, all your job is to go get me $2 million or $10 million. I'm going to treat you like a robot, and we're not going to treat this like you're a human and I'm a human, right? A lot of people will also think that whether it's investor to founder or C-suite to VP or any higher up in the higher org chart to lower org chart, a lot of people will think because there's a direction of power or money that they think there's a certain sense of control, and there's not. We're all human to human. And so I'm always very clear when I'm talking to people, it's not a human hierarchy, it's just the org chart hierarchy. And a lot of people confuse org chart hierarchy for human hierarchy. And when we realize this is human, it is a human to human connection on equal playing field, we also connect more deeply on that personal level. And we get to ask people, what is your life? What do you want for your life? How was your weekend? Let me know about your wife, your husband, your kids. I want to know about the full you. And this is going to make people engage more in work and in connecting with you. And we're gonna understand each other in these conversations. Not just let's get this thing done. We're gonna actually understand the person behind the scenes. Some people have had issues, right? When you mix personal and work. Some people are like, well, how can you be friends with somebody at your work, right? Because they somehow think that friendship means you have to give special treatment to somebody, right? And that's not the case, right? This is why we're talking about the lines and the intersections, right? In work, being a friend with an investor or a founder or somebody you're managing, right? It doesn't mean it changes the relationship. You still set up the relationship in the interview. You connect human to human in the interview. The interview is the most important part. We ask, what do you want out of your life as a human, personally, professionally, and then throughout all of our one-on-ones, throughout all of the meetings for the rest of the time that we're working together, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, we're connecting human to human, and we're able to go based off of that interview of expectations. We're able to say, we set these expectations for this relationship. So it's not, I'm just a friend with you, so I'm just going to let you slide and miss this deadline. Like, no, we agreed. We're here for these kind of projects. We're here for this kind of impact to the world or whatever we want to do, or for this software. And we said we were going to get this done by Friday. You said you were ready to get this done by Friday. We need to get this done by Friday. Am I still friends with you? Can we still go out? Can we still go out and hang out? Can we still talk about personal stuff? Yes, we can. But we both agreed we're going to get this done by Friday. That's a human to human contract, not a manager to an IC. There doesn't mean just because we have personal that somehow, oh, well, you're not done by Friday. Cool. Monday's fine. Like even in general, as a great manager, you can be flexible in your days, right? You can say Monday. So the line between saying whether we have a personal and friendship or business doesn't mean the difference between being flexible or not flexible. As a great manager, if you want to be flexible on dates, you can. And if you want to be firm, you can. But that's a human to human contract that you let people know. It doesn't mean because we're friends that we have to do to change the game, right? It doesn't mean there's favoritism. We don't want to be managing a team or teams of people like I've done, and you're friends with one person, but then not everybody else, and then one person feels favored, right? So you don't want to get into the trouble slot of favoring somebody. If you're going to be personal and human to human with someone, we need to be human to human, connecting with everybody. So those are some of the avoidance. We don't want to do the favoritism. We don't want to give somebody an excuse because they're a friend. We still just want to be human to human. We said we're going to get this done, so let's get this done. Or we said we're going to do attention to detail. We're going to get this detail. Or I'm your manager. I'm also potentially a friend, or at least talking about personal stuff, right? I'm delineating between you. I could be a friend, or I could be talking about personal. and I'm mixing both of those two distinct things with work, it also means I'm going to up level you, right? Like when we started this interview, we said you wanted to up level in these areas. We obviously, I'm starting out as your manager in some sense, right? Or the reverse. We set the expectations, and I'm going to share with you. Here's where I think you need to improve in attention to detail. Here's where I think you can improve in communication, right? And I'm going to use my wording of like, I'm never going to talk down to somebody. I'm going to say, here's my lens. Here's my perspective. What are your thoughts? And that's a phrase that I tell everyone to memorize, whether you're IC to IC, manager IC, or whatever. It's here's my lens, here's my perspective, what are your thoughts? And when you're doing that, it doesn't matter what position you're in, whether you're talking up or down, whether up or down the org chart, right? Like an IC can say the same thing to a manager. Here's my lens, here's my perspective, what are your thoughts? Manager can say the same thing, right? Because we have to forget about the org chart. We have to forget about whether it's business or personal. You would do that with a friend too. My summary.
Yeah.
So, and I think, I guess, Anja, maybe you have more, but then we just really want to jump into Q&A, because like the last thing I want to do is sit here and like us talk. Like we want to have a discussion, right? We want to grow this kind of knowledge and
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can just jump in. I mean, we can add later. Of course, we all have different experiences, so we can just start Q&A. Why did you join today? What were your expectations from this gathering today? For example, Dejan or Leon or Marco, if you would like to share.
Basically, I don't have any expectations to just first to join to see what this is, what is everything about it, and what I heard so far. I can see, I can just say it's great to hear that. Also, let's say big VCs talking about personal relationship, not just about numbers and like you said, Jeremy, just like a robots, and I'm here, you're here, and you need to do this. I think it's a great approach.
Yeah, this is actually the point where me and Jeremy really clicked, because I also, like, when I'm forming, teams in startups or like in other companies, it's like I really go on this human level. I'm doing recruitment and everything, I'm really doing it on deeper level, like based on purpose, based on meaning. And these are the questions that are they're really underestimated, because it can be, break, win or lose point. Like seriously, it can really make such a difference. It's such a small step, but it really can make such a difference. And I think like this to create psychological safe environment also, in this VC world, startup world, with talks like today, or, in general that we are having, it's super, super important that, because people, they have this idea, oh, it's like that, and it's fixed idea and it's fixed mindset, but it's not, we have to show that it can be also done differently. And yeah, they are super successful companies, super important, super successful VC and investors and, CEOs who are making big difference in the world also, in other ways. So yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I think it's great what you do, Anja, that, not everybody necessarily here on this call has heard, but we've kind of talked about in some of the sessions before, right? Like when you're building teams and helping to recruit people or do it in a better way to build those teams, right? When you are bringing people on for what they are personally aligned for, I think it's better than, okay, I see that comment. I think it's better when we're not coming in with these competitive offers of we're going to pay the best and here's the best perks and everything, because it brings people in on a competitive energy. And I know me and you have talked about that before, but I'm kind of saying it again for this audience. Is like, it's great that Anja will kind of go in there and rewrite job postings and kind of have people adjust the way they do interviews to not be so competitive based on here's the best salary, here's the best perks, we're the best company, right? A lot of companies will do that. And you're going to get candidates that come in for competitive reasons, and then they leave when they get a better offer somewhere else, because you're naturally attracting these competitive people, versus when you change it to something that is more personal, aligned with them, and asking them what do they really want out of their life, out of their career, and how is that aligned to the role. And when you find that, you get a longer retained employee. You want that as a founder CEO, you want that as HR, and you want that as an investor of having these higher retained employees for longer that aren't going to jump ship for the next competitive offer. You want that. And so this really impacts those return timelines as well as whatever the company is doing in terms of impact to the world. So it's really great that Anja does those types of things. And it relates to this personal professional, where sometimes people draw too much of a personal professional because they think it's the right thing to do. And it's actually, we need to be able to treat people as a whole human. Leon,
exactly.
Okay,
It's a learn, unlearn, relearn. Now, can you please answer this chat question? From Leon.
Yeah, reading that now.
Do you see it? Okay.
Yeah, and for the recording, I'll read Leon's question out loud since I don't think the recording will show Leon's question. Leon says, I can't talk, but I'm interested in how big VC companies like YC or Sequoia maintain personal involvement in companies and founders. Is it better for startups finding seed capital connecting with smaller personal VCs or big VC companies? Okay, so that's his question. So what I'll say is, I think places like YC and Sequoia will try to do a bit of a personal involvement, and they may hire teams of people to manage kind of that, right? Like the higher ups in those organizations aren't obviously going to have the personal. So they're probably going to hire people to try and do that. But I think some of the larger organizations in general, and this is a challenge with any large organization, is kind of staying in touch with everybody, especially at scale. So I think, it's good for founders to, I'm a pre-seed and seed investor. It is good for founders in general, whether it's for pre-seed and seed or even Series A, to look at investment place and ask, how many portfolio companies are you managing? Are you managing 10 or 20, or are you managing 100 or 500? Because they're not going to have as much time to give to the founder to build that personal connection. And that's why you'll hear thrown out around a lot by founders and by investors that a founder is looking for a strategic investor, not just a money investor, right? Because a lot of these founders are wanting more of a strategy session and even so more a personal connection, right? So I think whether it's a founder or an investor, when the founders and investors are looking for a strategic one, not just a money one, looking for more of that personal connection, looking for an alignment with that investor, the investor to founder, you're going to do a lot better, right? Because then in your weekly updates, if a founder misses a deadline by a week or a month, right, in terms of customer acquisition timelines or project deliverables timelines, the investor is probably going to be more like, you know what? I'm connected to you personally, and I feel aligned with you and your mission, and I'm not here all about the money, and I'm not going to get overly distraught about the timeline. I believe in you. I connected with you on a personal basis. Yes, I do want the return so that I can still drive the next impact project, right? Because I'm not here to donate. It sounds nice and it feels nice to just say, hey, let me give you $10 million or $100 million. And I donated and I give something great to the world. But no, I, as an investor and any other investor, does want to get the impact of this project in this company and then also drive profit and return to then finance the next cancer project, world hunger, whatever you want to do, right? So using terms like profit and impact isn't just about like profit and impact in a money sense. It's actually to drive the next project, right? And so when we take that approach of personal involvement, we're all connected to, well, we do want the money, we do want to meet the timeline so that we can drive the next impact-driven project. But at the same time, I'm not going to rush this one because I'm not all about the money. This project is very impactful too. Let's try to be on time next time. But you do want to have those personal connections. You're going to, in any sense, whether it's manager to IC, investor to founder, you're going to get a much better fun journey and a much better relationship when you do that personal one. So hopefully that answers your question, Leon. I know you can't answer me, but I'll read your chat if you put it out.
Maybe just thumbs up. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's really interesting topic. For example, Jeremy, I have also one question. What do you think? Like, should founders do that first step towards the building the relationship, like the building the friendship, or like how did you see like this dynamics, or maybe I don't know, investors, because sometimes they are, founders, they are afraid to approach in that way. So how can they see, what are the signals that they can see, oh yeah, he's open to be my friend, he's open to be something more than just money, money grabbing investor or something?
Yeah, Leon says answered perfectly. Thank you. So that's good. Good. I'm glad we answered that, Leon. And then Anja for the question there. I think founders should be able to lead. An investor or a founder should be able to lead it. we're aware of masculine, feminine energies, lead to follow ratios, whatever terminologies we want to use, right? Some people have more confidence, some people have less, but in the founder world, you're leading something new. We need you to have a higher degree of confidence. We need you to be able to lead. So it's not going to be as ideal if you're hesitant. We do need you in that particular role. We do need you to be able to speak up and say what you want and not be afraid of some investor. That sets off the relationship on the wrong foot if you come in afraid of somebody. And I think a lot of people are. They're like, well, I need to get the money in some way. So they'll bend their boundaries, they'll bend their values, they'll bend their rules or the way that they want to operate just to get some money. But that sets up the relationship in a bad way, which means now the rest of the relationship is going to be you catering to the investor and you not being your authentic self and you not being a true founder, bringing what you want to bring to the world. So founders, if they don't feel confident, it's going to be a good idea for them to practice. Everything is a muscle. We can practice everything. So practice being able to speak up. And it doesn't mean being brash. It just means, hey, investor, I want to build personal relationships. And guess what? If 100 investors tell you no, fine. They're not your great investor. You don't want to build a relationship with that person anyway. Investor to founder relationship is like a marriage, just like your co-founder is. So you should be thinking, am I ready to marry this person? Because you're going to be with them for 2 years, 5 years. Do you want to enjoy that? Do you want to feel really connected, or do you want it to just be a money relationship? Because if you just let somebody else lead, then it's going to be a money relationship, or it's going to be whatever they want. So in any relationship, friend to friend, significant other, any human to human relationship on the planet, you want to say, here's what I would like. And it doesn't have to be brash. A lot of people think when they speak up, they have to be brash or they have to be mean. And it doesn't mean that. It just means, here's what I believe, here's what I want, right? You can tell even the tone of my voice right now, right? Like I can say something confidently and I can say, here's what I want for the world. And here I'm firm about it. And yes, I can collaborate and I can even be flexible on some things. But if you don't align, then I'm going to use that word alignment. And I'm going to say, we're not aligned, right? I'm never going to judge anybody else. We're all different. That's fine. Some people will be for just money or for just strategy and no personal, and that's fine. But talk to enough people, get through enough volume with investors, get through enough volume with people, and find your aligned people and stand for what you want to stand for, and just calmly, lovingly say, like, I'm looking for this in the world. Does that work for you? If not, I move on to the next person and you're beautiful, but we're not aligned. Cool.
Yeah, awesome. I would like to add something as well, because when I'm talking to founders, and they are really scared, because they have this huge respect for millionaires, billionaires, that they know that, they feel that they are in submissive position, but they shouldn't be, of course, that somebody is superior, because they're not. And I always say, look, in the morning when you wake up and he or she wakes up, you are both human being. You go to brush your teeth, you go to make a coffee, you walk a dog, you do some meditation, you watch TV, whatever. You are both human beings. And then you just take up the role, that you have. Like he is the founder, of a $1 billion company, and you are a founder that, just starting, but you are the same on human level. You are completely the same. And that sometimes really helps them, because it's just like it puts them in equal position, because it's all about that. It's about energy alignment, like somebody can be, of course, mentoring or coaching or whatever, but not even a mentor or coach is not in superior position to another, human being. And that's really, really important. That's also the message that I'm giving when I'm recruiting people, so I think that's something to think about.
Yeah, I love that. And I would also add, that I usually tell a lot of people, if a person with more money or more experience is treating themselves as better than you, that's not the person you want to deal with. You want to find that person with maybe billions or whatever, or lots of experience, who looks at you as a human and says, how can I help you? If they think of themselves as better status or better anything, they're not the type of person you want to deal with. So don't fund that kind of character by engaging with them. Defund that kind of character by not engaging with them. When you fund love, when you fund personal relationships, when you fund human to human connections in the world by who you choose to interact with, we make a better world.
Yeah, and the magic is you just have to be authentic, like 100% authentic, and show who you really are, because that way you will attract, a person that is aligned with you, that is aligned with who you are. And usually, it can be really easy. It shouldn't be, a battle, or I'll put a lot of effort, because when you're authentic, then things are just happening. It's flow. So I don't know, maybe other guys, would like to add something or their experiences. I know that Leon cannot talk, but maybe Marco or Dejan. Or we can continue, me and Jeremy.
Yeah, we can always continue, but we just want to make sure that everybody is involved and gets their questions or thoughts answered. If you're learning a lot from hearing, great, we can keep talking, but we do want to be interactive as much as we can. So
exactly, we are not the smartest people in the world, we are just sharing our experiences and knowledge. And this is the point of this, because it will be also, the video will be on YouTube and everywhere, so people will will hear it later. What I wanted to say also is that we should really learn how to set clear boundaries, in this kind of relationship. And this is all about self-awareness. That's why I'm really like big advocate for personal growth. Like a lot of people, have different explanation, what like the understanding what personal growth really is. But the thing is, like when you know what is okay for you, and when you know what is not okay for you, that you stick to that, that you are not bending, like you said, Jeremy. And creating these clear boundaries when you don't feel okay with something, some kind of relationship, or that somebody, is acting or treating you, that you just set clear boundaries and say, hey, thank you, I don't need that, this is, I think, very huge, I would say, like a milestone to success, because if you are ignoring that fact, you're just gonna get trapped in this vicious circle, if I may say, of lessons. And you will probably never, it will be really difficult to get to that goal that you would really like to get, especially with the help of investor or somebody who would back up your idea.
Yeah, and I think boundaries don't have to be brashly displayed. A lot of people think like, I need to hold a boundary, and I'm going to say, this is my firm boundary. Like, it's like you can hold a firm boundary, but still be calm about it and just say, hey, I don't do XYZ. That's a boundary for me, right? You can say it calmly, casually. I don't do XYZ. I'm not judging you. I'm not being anything. I'm just, this is my boundary around XYZ, right? Like you can say it calmly and still hold a boundary. A lot of people, they get confused and they think to stand up for themselves or to hold a boundary or to be authentic means they need to be some sort of like mean. And it's like, no, you can just casually say, hey, I don't do XYZ and I do ABC, and that's the way I like to operate. And when you're authentic, you're going to attract people that are aligned with you, and not everybody's going to be aligned with you, and that's fine, and that's normal.
Yeah, what we already said, in some of the previous sessions, that it's very important. It's like really, really cool to exchange the user manual in the beginning of, any kind of relationship, so people know what you can expect from each other. So that makes things so much easier for everybody. And this exchanging user manuals is also, personal boundaries, and we can be, of course, we can be best friends, but we still, have some framework, what we like and what we don't like, because we are here to support each other with our personal growth, and we all have different paths, of course, but if we are, we find each other on some certain point, it's cool that we are, aligned in whatever we are already doing.
Yeah. We did talk about that in previous videos, but for this new audience, right? Like it is important to exchange those user manuals, to know who some people prefer to lead in a conversation. They feel very comfortable with it. Other people, they like to kind of follow and just listen and sit back in a meeting, right? And so it's good to know in a relationship, are you going to hop into a meeting and be like, hey, I think we should do this, and then you kind of ask the group or ask the other people, and they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that, right? Some people do not feel comfortable leading, and they're like, I'm usually going to give you my thoughts if I have thoughts, but I'm not good at leading or good at coordinating, so I'd love to just collaborate and follow a bit, right? So people have preferences on lead or follow. So there's in understanding somebody's user manual, you kind of want to understand in what contexts does somebody like to lead, or do they like to follow, and maybe at what percentage, right? Some people feel really comfortable. I'm definitely very comfortable in like leading a group of 200 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, and I'm calmly comfortable doing it. Some people will get nervous and anxiety at trying to lead a group of 20 people, let alone 3 people. They'll get nervous and quiet on a call, right? And we just want to understand, what is the user manual people? What is their mode of operation? How do they like to work? How do they like to collaborate? Do they like to work in Excel all day? Do they like to work with people all day? do they need some extra attention to make sure that, you show that you care for them? Do they have a higher confidence? And they're like, no, you don't need to tell me that. I'm confident in myself. We're fine, right? Like we want to have these user manuals to where, like we had brought up in previous calls, there's this example of camping, right? You can go to camping, get chased by a bear, have bad food, have bad experience. Somebody else goes camping and they have a great time with their family. They have great food, they have great hike, whatever, right? And then you say camping to these two different people and they have two completely different experiences that trigger, right? So even when we have word precision, which is really important, a lot of people don't pay attention to word precision. Even when we have word precision, we still have completely different, a million different set of neurons that fire, right? Every time I say a sentence to somebody, a billion neurons is firing in my head. I say 8 words of a sentence out and a billion different neurons are going to fire in Anja's head or Leon's head or Marco's head, right? So to be able to understand that when we're talking about a user manual and saying like, what is the way that you communicate and how do you operate, like what, you don't know somebody's last 10, 20 years or 30 years experience of their life that makes them hesitant in a conversation or makes them more confident or makes them say that this word means something, right? We want to be able to pick up when somebody says camping and somebody's like triggered and they're like, that was like the worst experience of my life. Like you want to be able to pick up on their micro expressions or through their words that they're like, you know what, a little worried, right? And I'm using camping as an example, but there's also this element of like when you say a project is going to be done at work, right? Like, oh, it'll be done. Does that mean all the pixels are perfectly designed done? Does that mean the engineering is perfect and QA done? What is this definition of done, right? So exchanging user manuals in like how precise somebody can be and how they like to operate and how they like to be communicated to. Do they like to work in 15-minute blocks or do they like to work in 4-hour blocks? Like these are all user manual type things where some people, they want to work for 4 or 6 hours, quiet, snooze my phone, not interact with other people. And other people, they want to work with other people. So you want to know, is somebody a deep executor? I love to dive into the code and love to dive in Excel sheets and work alone. Or does that drive me anxiety and I actually need to interact with somebody every 30 minutes or an hour and I actually want to be on meetings all day long and there's different roles in different companies for different people. So what is the user manual of how somebody likes to operate and what do they want in short-term goals and long-term goals? This is all a part of a user manual when you meet with somebody so that you're not just thinking you're meeting with somebody talking about one project or one work, you're talking to the whole human of this person, which includes their whole user manual.
Exactly. And you're going to get this kind of information only if you connect on this human level. If you're going to just connect, on this, okay, what's in it for me and what's in it for you, it's just like exchanging expectation and that's it. You're here to do the job. I'm here to pay you or, whatever. It's not going to work because, this person will not feel completely safe. And this is the point that we create this psychological safe environment. And also I wanted to mention something because it's really interesting. When I was talking to like IT experts, in companies, or when I was leading teams, it was really interesting for me, how they reacted on recognition. Like when somebody was like super successful, he did like really cool job on a project, and everybody think, oh yeah, we have to publicly, like put, I don't know, on Slack or like somewhere, I don't know, in the office, oh, he did that. And when I was talking to people, they really don't like that. Some people, they don't like that. And the like public recognition or any kind of recognition, it's not something that all people want. This is something that we should be also really aware of, that we're completely different. And some people, they really block their mental, their creative process because they are so thrown outside of their comfort zone by being recognized as the best or whatever. So we really need to know how they are functioning, what is inside, what is their motivation. This is really, really important, but not also employees, like in every relationship, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I agree. A big part of, I think, manager's job and a lot of what I do is like, I will give, a lot of that public recognition, which is really important. But what we all want to be sensitive of is exactly what you're saying. And I'm just adding extra words to it because I agree, is some people, it might be a smaller subset of people, it'll be different per organization, maybe per culture or country that you're in, right? But like we do want to be aware of when we give people that hype or congratulations on their work, compliments, etc. Do they like it one-on-one? Do they like it in a Slack channel? Do they like it announced in a big group meeting? Some people, it makes their month or their year to be announced on a 100-person business meeting call. Anja was the best at this month. And other people, that would make them shut down and be nervous and anxiety in front of 100 people being pointed out, right? So we want to be able to kind of test things out, right? Do it in a one-on-one, because you always have, as a manager, you're going to have weekly one-on-ones. Or if you're doing this IC to IC, just telling somebody they're great, you know, when you give them their first compliment or the first emoji or first on Slack messages or whatever, kind of see their response, see their micro expressions response. It's really important to listen to nonverbals, because some people are not going to be confident to talk in verbal, or the micro expression is going to be a preemptive of their verbal, right? So you want to be able to watch the micro expressions. And I mean, ask and get verbal as much as you can, but micro expressions can give you like a probabilistic answer, and then you can kind of ask if you want more. But read kind of their responses in verbal form over Slack or over video or micro expressions, and pick up on how did they receive that? Did they like that? Do they want more of that? Okay, let's amp it up. If they like it, let's give them more of what they want, right? And if they didn't seem to respond like maybe the average of other people that you've been managing or interacting with and dealing with, then just be aware of that, and maybe even ask them that question: do you like positive words of feedback? Do you like positive words? If they say yes, do you like it in one-on-ones? Do you like it in Slack? Do you like it in group? Some people will be like, obviously, yeah, of course I want the attention. And other people like, well, not groups. I don't need that attention. I'm actually really happy with just doing my work. If you say I'm doing good, that's all I care about. Like I've managed so many different people. There's different people that want it in different contexts and in different doses. And so when you pay attention to context and dose and ask people what they want and what they like and what they think they like and go off of that, you do much better job. And if you just don't do it, or if you just do it like I'm never going to do it, or I'm always going to do it, then you're not being prescriptive to each person, and you're not showing that you truly care about that person. You cannot go in there and just say, oh, I'm giving everybody compliments. That's the right thing to do. Not if you're making them nervous and anxiety, and then they don't want to work for you because you gave them too much, right? In that, it won't happen in all the cases, but we want to be prescriptive to people. And that's another way to show that we're listening to people, is saying, how do you receive feedback? How do you receive love? How do you receive any of these things? I want to give it to you in the way that you receive it well, not just give you money, right? It's the same thing for like when people say, oh, everybody wants a raise. Not everybody wants a raise. Some people want a raise to go travel or to do whatever they want to do in their life. And some people are like, no, I just want to be recognized. Some people don't want to be recognized for money. They just actually love solving the problem. They love the engineering of the code. And you can tell when they talk about it, they're like, this part of the code and this part of the code. Do they talk about other humans? Do they talk about travel? Do they talk about money? Do they talk about recognition? Any of those things? They're like, no, I just love solving the problem, right? So we want to be able to understand how each person works and apply it prescriptively to them. So it's the most important thing, is to always be listening to people and asking them questions.
Yes, exactly. Asking questions. That's the most important thing, especially like when you're leading a team, before you start like making assumptions or conclusions, just ask, and they will answer. And it's all about that human level again. Okay. Any questions maybe from your side? Or we continue with lecturing? Do you have I'm drinking water today, so I don't have wine with me. But yeah, what's something that we can also talk about, touch? For example, I wrote here, which I really believe, that sometimes friendships, they start with business collaborations, but sometimes friendship ends with business collaboration. Because I've been involved, and like I saw so many stories, that a bunch of friends just came together, like, oh, let's we have this idea, let's make business together, let's do something. And it was like the worst situation ever. It's like, the different characters, because like there was no accountability. These are probably situations that we also need to be aware of, how to approach in this kind of stories. And of course, I'm pretty sure that investors, what they're looking some stability in if there's like founder or co-founder, they need to be friends, or no? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, investors were always going to be looking for somebody who's had a relationship, like co-founder to co-founder, for like 6 months or a year. We want to see that longer relationship, because we do need that stability, right? If we're looking for that return, and we want that return and that impact, it's both the impact that you're driving as a company and the return that drives the next impact, right? So ultimately, it's all about impact. But to make the impact and the return stable, we need a stable company in general. We want to de-risk all the elements. We're always looking for, how do you de-risk this? Okay, hire top talent. Okay, make sure the two co-founders have been together for a while. So We do want to see that people have worked together for 6 months or a year. The longer, the better. But somebody who just met a month ago is typically not ready to be invested in because that relationship hasn't matured yet. We don't know how long those two people have worked together, personally and professionally, and we don't know if they're going to split off or separate or have a disagreement 6 months into the investment, and that's going to throw off the whole impact goal that they had and the whole investment in general. So we do want to see that longer term relationship, and it's going to need to be personal as well.
Like, are investors also interested in like personal lives of founders? For example, like their personal relationships, like their marriage, is it okay? Or are they middle of the divorce, or do they have kids, or what is the mindset? What's going on in investors' head?
Yeah, so I would definitely be I'll definitely be careful to say investors as a whole, right? Because like we don't want to say men as a whole, women as a whole, a race as a whole, or investors as a whole. Investors, the only thing they have in common is that they give money to companies and they usually want a return. Everything else is going to be nuanced and different. So there are investors out there that are just the money and the strategy, and they're not thinking about the personal relationship. But what we're kind of talking about on the call is that regardless of whether you're an investor or a C-suite or anybody in a company, I'm advocating that people should be more personal, because you're going to get better relationships. You're going to get more human-to-human connection. You're going to get better results. You're going to get better profit. You're going to get better returns. You're going to get better impact. So I won't necessarily go and speak and say all investors are that way. I think investors are split. Some are going to be personal and some are going to not be personal. And the ones that are more personal are going to do better. And I've seen that. I've seen that data, like in all the relationships that I am more personal with people, whether it's a direct person that I'm managing or somebody I'm investing that I'm going to be investing in. It's always been better. It's always been more longer term lasting, as opposed to you're just a transaction to me. And if we think about it, right, if we were to convert all of our relationships to not be personal, right, everything is just a transaction. You're just an engineer to me. You're just a salesperson to me. You're just somebody driving impact. And all our meetings are is updates. What'd you get? Did you get that done by Friday? This, that. Think about your entire 20, 40-year life just as that, numbers and details and never connecting to human to human. How do you feel about your life? For me, I won't work with anybody unless I am going to be friends and business with them. So for me, it's a requirement that we have to be friends and we have to have that personal connection. And I don't care if somebody doesn't want that, that's fine. I will just say that's beautiful that you're doing a non-personal relationship and you just want it to be more business. That's fine. You'll just have to find somebody else. I'm unaligned for that. But if you're going to be aligned with me, I require that we have that personal connection, because I care about the human journey. At the end of the day, like when we go and pass away, like I care about the human journey, not just that we made $1 billion or $10 billion and we drove a lot of even if I said we drove impact to 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people, but I felt like a robot the entire time. Like that's not the human journey that I want, and it's not the one that I will accept. And I won't judge anyone else for doing differently, but I will say that I'm not aligned for that.
Okay, we were talking about investors now, but let's HR, recruitment also, because this is also a point, where I see a lot of companies, they're building walls, but they don't realize that actually maybe, in like, I don't know, 3 weeks or whatever, this person, will be a part of their team, like potentially, of course. So it's like, it's really funny, when, I don't know, on Tuesday, there's like this high wall, okay, you got an offer. And then on Friday or on Monday, somebody joined and it's like expecting, that he will be open, it's like, I think companies need to learn how to, bring that wall down from the beginning. You can have these boundaries, you can have the framework, but you shouldn't put yourself in superior position. You shouldn't put yourself in any kind of higher energy or whatever, that you are looking at down somebody and putting and like making feel really uncomfortable. And you don't have to be like best friend if you invite somebody for an interview and there's a candidate and like super scared or whatever, but it's all about support. It's all about this psychological safe environment. So I always, when I talk to potential candidates or whatever, I'm always on a friendly level. I don't even, because in Slovenia we also have we have this formal language and non-formal, and it's like there are two forms. Like in English is you, you is for maybe somebody who you already know or who you don't know. But in Slovenia, it's a little bit more complicated. Some people, they're like, oh, how can you talk to me like that? We don't even know each other. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We are all human, and this is something that also I would like to, bring the message in the companies, that they should just, forget about these walls, stupid walls, that they just, they are complicating things. If you know how to navigate, in this framework, but in a friendly and safe environment, psychological safe environment, then the result will be so much quicker and so much more effective.
I agree. In the HR and talent context, do you have some, off the top of your head, some example kind of questions or things that you would recommend people ask to candidates, or how they should carry the conversation? I know the one example of the informal versus formal language. How else would you, with kind of some specific examples, if you have them off the top of your head, would you kind of suggest that employers ask candidates so that they can be a little bit more friendly or informal?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that when I was talking to this, AI scientists and AI experts or tech experts, it's like everybody are, talking to them based on their experiences, based on their, what did they do, like in their work, like about their achievements and their knowledge, expert knowledge. And when you start talking to them like a human person, like human being, and I know I will never forget this situation when I asked just, it was a candidate, and I asked her, so tell me something, what kind of impact would you like to leave behind? Like, I know that you have a lot of experiences and everything, but what kind of impact, like what is your desire? What is your passion? And she was so shocked about this question. She was like, oh my God, like I had so many interviews, but no one asked me this kind of question. And that makes a really huge difference, and because the instantly it's an energy switch instantly. And also when, because I'm not an expert for everything, especially not for tech, some, I don't know, program languages or whatever. And the thing is, like, when I'm asking people, to bring it down, so because they are, an expert level, they're here, maybe I'm here. And it's like, oh, can you please, like, can you explain to me that like you would explain to 5-year-old, or like imagine that I'm like 5-year-old kid, tell me what you do in your words, like in simple words. Tell me what you do. What is your passion? What are you doing? Like, what is your job at the moment? And yeah, we laugh, and it's like, I'm not putting them in uncomfortable position, because I always say, like, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm really holding that space for them. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see the reaction, because unconsciously, they tell you more that they really, I don't know, they sometimes they don't have enough intention to talk about some stuff, and they just open up. And when they start opening up, you get a lot of information that otherwise you wouldn't, because they trust, it's, like I said, it's instant trust building. So
yeah, I was on a call with Dubai this morning, and on the phone with this managing director of a massively global company, name brand everybody would recognize, but I'm not going to put the private conversation name here. But the point is, a couple other people were on the call and asking questions about, the setting up an entity, essentially a company over in Dubai, and it's a global company and global operations that we're doing. But the questions were around Dubai for this morning's call, and it was all technical and everything. And then I because I only care about the personal relationships, or at least that's the basis of everything else. I paused and asked the guy, and I was like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your background. What caused you to start this job that you're at now, right? We stopped talking about what his job is and how he's helping us. And I said, we're going to pause that and like, tell me why are you now in the Middle East? Like, what made that job, right? And so we talked about his past a little bit. And then I said, okay, now what do you want to do over the next 2, 5, and 10 years of your life? And he was like, nobody ever asked me that before. That's a good question. And then he dives into his personal, what he wants to do over the next 2, 5, 10 years of his life. And by the end of the call, he's saying, I'd love to do more global execution stuff with you, even outside of this region that I'm managing. And I'd love to connect with you guys on LinkedIn. And he was really much more connected. Now we're going to have a much more fruitful global connection with this managing director of a massively global company, because we got personal and we didn't just make it a transactional call, which is how it started out. And that's how most conversations are. A lot of people think because you're talking to this managing director at a massively global company, you got to be very focused on the professional. And I stopped it and I led and I said, tell me about your past and tell me about your future, right? And then we got way more connected, and now he wants to do so much more business, right? So this is the power of doing it at a billion size scale, as well as hiring in your companies. It's all the same because we're all human. We keep drawing lines that don't need to be there. You're talking to a human, treat them as a human.
Exactly. It's all about human relations. Really, it's all about human relations and assumptions. People already, a lot of people, they have assumptions, and assumptions are usually like the killer. Like they destroy everything, because we are assuming that somebody, wants to hear that, or we are assuming that somebody doesn't want to hear that. But we are all human beings, and all we want to do is connect with other human beings that are on the similar level. And when you find each other, when you find that, that spark, everything is possible. Right, Jeremy? I know that had happened with us.
Yeah, we connected on a human level. And I think there's kind of three levels there, right? Like there's assumptions, which we want to stay away from. And then once you get rid of assumptions, then maybe you know that they're a certain way, right? That's level 2, something. But there's actually level 3 where you say, I know, but I'm going to create a new type of conversation or a new type of environment where, even though you didn't think we could have a personal conversation, and I know that you weren't planning for that, I'm going to create into this conversation, and I'm going to connect to you on a human level where you didn't think that was possible before. You thought we just had to be about work, and I'm going to create, just like I did that in this morning's meeting, right? They were doing the normal thing. I didn't even have to assume. I knew that they were just talking personal, just talking about professional, just talking about the details, right? And that's all they were going to talk about. And then I jumped in and I created into that moment, right? We can create into our relationships. And so that's really the third tier, is jump out of assumptions, learn your audience, know what they want, and then jump a third level and jump into, okay, now that I know what's happening, as long as I have consent with them and they're okay with it, I'm going to create into this moment. We create relationships. We don't just necessarily find out, what does this other person want? Whether it's a friend or significant other, what does this person want? Well, what could we create into this relationship as well?
Yeah, and a lot of people, they think that it's so difficult for them to do that, but everything, like, you can learn. And me and Jeremy, we are doing exactly that. We are empowering like leaders, and I'm working with a lot of HR professionals as well, founders. So how to communicate, how to do stuff on human level, on heart-based levels.
Yep.
Yeah, so
looks like we're I have the next meeting in a couple minutes, so it looks like we'll just wrap this up. Any final questions from anyone? Even though we haven't had a lot of questions today, but hopefully you guys staying on just means you guys enjoyed it.
Did you like it?
It was great listening to you. Probably I will join you soon.
Cool. Yeah, I look forward to it. Yeah, we'll be doing more of these sessions, as well as some other groups as well, for just general business development as well. So we'll be doing these every Thursday at the same time.
Yeah. Great. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. The link is always the same. And sometimes it's like 20 people, sometimes it's smaller group, but it doesn't matter. It's just like that we provide this information and the energy goes around. So thank you very much. Jeremy, Dea, and Marco for joining today. And I wish you amazing day, evening, and I'll see you on LinkedIn and next week on next session. All right.
See you guys.
Oh, great.
Take
Thank
care.
you, both of you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.